What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kingdom Conversations. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of great topics, and let's see where this conversation goes. First of all, I want to say welcome. We haven't done our podcast in quite some time because we've just been busy doing other things, but I'm excited to be back with you guys and doing this podcast again because it is something that I know that is needed. But today is going to be a really great day already because it's the opening of the NBA season, and we have two great games tonight. We have I believe the Thunder and the Rockets are playing at 7, and then the Warriors and the Lakers are playing at 10. So today is going to be a night full of great basketball. And of course, we always address things that are going on in the social media world. To all you guys that are upset with Bishop Marvin Winans, I'll just say this. If you just listen to that small clip, which is, of course, clickbait and a soundbite, you're going to misinterpret everything that he was saying. I think that you have to go and always research and, look at the clips in full before you guys go on these tyrants, because you guys are going crazy on Bishop Winans. And I think that you guys got to really see the whole presentation of what's being said by this great man of God, Bishop Winans. But today, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about basketball, even though I just saw, and this is to all you New York Knicks fans, I just saw your former coach up in Boston at the Boston Celtics arena and workout facility. They said he was there to go over some tapes from our last few games. So I don't know if Coach Tibbs is trying to get a job up in Beantown, but I think if he even makes the slightest inkling that he wants a job, we should hire him immediately, just to spite y'all. That's what we should do. Immediately. And I'm talking about immediately. Hire him on the spot. Give him however much money he wants, because we got it. And we should hire him on the spot. So, but this conversation today is about something that I know it's really, really, really important to a lot of people. And it's this right here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Yeah, great question. Let's put it up there. Am I ready to be a step parent? I think it's something that we have to really dive into. Some of you guys don't know, a few years ago, actually back in 2005, I wrote my first book entitled You're Not My Daddy, Guidelines to Becoming a Successful Stepfather. It's something that I feel that I am very well versed in. I've been doing this now for 34 years. 34 years. And in that book, I share my failures as a stepdad, the challenges that I had to face as a stepdad. And I just pour out my heart to you guys, because I think that if you're going to do that, if you're going to date someone that has children, there are certain loopholes that you need to be aware of. There's certain things that you need to be very cautious of, that you need to be aware of. And I think that God allows us to go through certain things so that we can share information with one another, so that we can avoid certain pitfalls. So that's what I did. I wrote this book back then, and big shout out to my pastor, Bishop Darrell Hill. He wrote the foreword for this book, And now we have just put it out as an audiobook, and it is available on all digital platforms. Apple Music, it's everywhere. Um, You're Not My Daddy, Guidelines to Becoming a Successful Step Parent. So when you talk about this, right, of course you're talking about getting into an area of parenting that is very challenging. And this, even though my book is entitled You're Not My Daddy, I know that if you're a step parent, period, you can benefit from this book, because a lot of times young ladies that have children already and are no longer with the biological father of that child, they mess themselves up, guys, by the way that they present that situation. One of the chapters in the book is called Baggage or Blessing. Most young ladies that I've met across the journey, even while writing this book, because while I was writing this book, I interviewed young ladies that were no longer with the biological father of their children. And I asked them, how do you approach when you have a young man that may be interested in dating you? And the first thing that almost every last one of them said is, we're a package deal. Me and my kids are a package deal. And I asked them, I said, why would you compare your child to a package? And that's why I entitled that chapter Baggage or Blessing. Because, I've been traveling and doing ministry for almost 30 years now, right? And one of the things that I hate about traveling, I love to travel, but one of the things that I hate about traveling is packing and unpacking luggage or baggages. I am so happy when I pull up to the hotel and the church that I'm going to preach for, or the hotel has staff that meet me at the door to help me with my bags, because I get real tired very quickly of picking up luggage and carrying luggage and having to put luggage down and pick it up. And sometimes I can't wait for someone else to come and carry it for me. So my question to young ladies is, why would you compare your child to something that you can't wait for somebody else to come and pick up? So we talked about that in the book. And it's a real easy listen to. I think the whole book is maybe about 45 minutes, if that, because we didn't want to overload you guys. And then also I wanted to keep it as authentic as I could to this, because back in 2005, I wasn't as well versed as I am now as a father. I really should have just written the book over, but I really wanted to kind of revisit what we did back in 2005, just to give us and keep the authenticity of my first book. And so this book is now available in audio form, and it's on every platform. And big shout out to all you guys that's on YouTube, that's on Kick, all the other platforms that we're streaming on right now. But I just kind of wanted to share some of the chapters with you guys. The first chapter is a great chapter. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's called Acceptance, which deals with accepting all of the challenges that come with being a step parent, stepdad. And I thank God for my daughter Brittany, because my journey started back in September of 1990. That's how long I've been doing this, guys. I've raised Brittany since she was 6 months old. And me and her mom, and big shout out to her mom, who is probably one of the best moms in the world. It was her, it was Monique, that taught me one of the most valuable lessons that I carry with me to this day. I remember me and Brittany were going through a real funny phase, because she's the reason why I titled this book, You're Not My Daddy, because that's what Brittany said to me. I was trying to chastise Brittany one day, and she said, "You ain't my father. You ain't my daddy." And I was like, wow. And so what I wanted to do is share the challenges that come with this area, because every child possibly can feel this towards you if you are the step parent. Either it's a mom, stepmom, or stepdad. And one of the funniest things was when Brittany said it, I went to Monique and I was like, listen, let me tell you something. And Brittany was only 8 years old at this time, y'all. But Brittany had a mouth on her that was second to none. I went to her mother. I said, let me tell you something. It's either me or her. I am not tolerating no little fresh, bad 8-year-old little girl with this fresh mouth. And Monique, I remember like it was yesterday. She was laying in the bed and she sat up and looked at me and said, so when are you leaving? I said, excuse me? And she did not crack a smile. She said, so when are you leaving? Because that is one of the main things that you have to understand if you're going to be a successful step parent. You never go into the relationship competing with what your partner gave birth to. That is the wrong approach. You will lose every time, especially if they're a real mom or a real dad. There was no way Monique was going to choose me over Brittany. And in my mind, I was expecting her to send her to her father. Like, okay, if I'm not your father and you don't want to listen to me, then go. But Monique looked at me and said, when are you packing? When are you leaving? And that's when I learned that if that relationship was going to have any longevity, and thank God we were together for 26 years, and wow, I'm just sitting here thinking about that. It was a long time. But the only way we were able to even survive that long is I had to learn this. And this is something that you guys have to learn if you're going to be a stepdad, if you're going to be a stepmom. You have to partner with whoever you're getting in the relationship with, especially when it comes to their children. You can't ever try to make someone choose between you and something that they've given birth to. You're going to lose every time. You're going to lose, and I mean every time. Y'all hear what I'm telling you? Every time you will lose. So I had to learn that. I had to learn that at a really, really early stage of my relationship, that if I'm going to be a winner in this area, I have to partner with Brittany's mother. I cannot make Brittany's mom choose between me, and I was her husband at the time. We were married at the time. And I said, hey, it's either me or her. And her mother said, all right, buddy, when you gonna hit the road? So that's one of the things we talk about in the book, just learning how to partner instead of trying to compete. Because it's a very, very serious matter when you try to put somebody's back against the wall and make them choose between you and something that they gave birth to. It never works out for you. Another chapter that we talk about is a chapter called The Risk. And this is really, really where I saw something today on Instagram where I knew I was in the vein when I wrote this book, because there was a guy that's on Instagram talking about, if you are a stepfather, you a sucker. The only way you could be a great stepfather is if you a sucker. And it got my attention. I said, what is this cat talking about? He said that he raised his stepdaughter. And some of you probably seen the clip. He raised his stepdaughter, and she grew up and turned into a beautiful young lady and decided to go into the Navy. And when you join the Navy, when you're filling out your paperwork, or any part of the armed services, when you are filling out your paperwork, you have to document a beneficiary. And so he was like in such awe of what his daughter did, his stepdaughter did. When it came time for her to fill out the paperwork, in case if anything happened to her, she said, I had to, and she's talking to her stepdad about it. She's like, I had to fill out that paperwork today, and I had to make sure that I was going to leave someone in charge of my stuff that I can trust. He said, so I'm going to leave all of my jewelry to my dad. And he looked at her, he said, wait a minute, I brought you that jewelry. She said, I'm going to leave my car to my dad. He said, wait up, I brought you that car. And then she said, well, I'm just going to leave everything to my dad because I know he'll do the right thing. And the stepfather, his heart was crushed because he brought all of this stuff for her. He provided this life. He guided her into making one of the greatest decisions of her life, which was going into the Navy, which was going to give her free college education, free travel, a veteran's loan for housing, all kind of benefits that he instructed and guided her. And when it came time for her to give back, she said, I'm leaving everything to my father, her biological father, who had nothing to do with her being who she was. That is the risk you take, gentlemen, when you make a decision of being a stepdad or a stepmom. You have to go into it knowing that the child that you will be helping to raise owes you nothing in return. Now, if they're being raised with mannerisms and manners that, are being guided down the right road, of course they'll being taught to say thank you. They'll be appreciative. But at the end of the day, you have to take the risk of doing what that man did, of giving everything and getting nothing in return. That is one of the greatest risks of being a stepfather. That you have to tap in. That's why every young man can't be a stepfather. That's why, ladies, if you have children and you want to start dating, you need to talk to me. You need to talk to somebody that's been doing that for a while, because there's certain red flags that you need to be aware of. That if you are just fooled and tricked by muscles and bald head and beards and six packs and how much money he makes, you're going to get yourself and your child into a situation that can be horrible. I'm talking about horrible. If you choose the wrong type of man to come into you and your child's life as a step parent, and gentlemen, if you choose the wrong type of young lady to come in, and especially if you have daughters, to help you raise your daughters, I'm talking about it will be a nightmare, because that child really doesn't owe you anything, sir, because you're not their father. And again, if they're respectful, they'll be appreciative. But when it comes down to loving you, and that is something you have to take the risk of giving everything you have to ensure that that child is successful, as if they're your own biological child. Every sacrifice that you make has to be like they're your own. Every bit of advice you give has to be as if they're your own. Every dime you give, everything that you do, you have to be willing to do it as if that child was biologically yours. That if you go into it any other way, fellas, ladies, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you go into it any other type of way, other than saying, I'm going to give of myself and I don't know what I'm going to get in return, but because I love the mom or I love their father, I love them, I'm going to treat them and deal with them as if they're biologically mine. And that also means discipline. See, because my situation was really, it was unique. Because when I got married, I had Brittany, and then we had Akira, who is biologically my daughter. But here's the thing. I don't see Brittany any different from how I see Akira. And they're 2 years apart. So, for 2 years, it was just me, Brittany, and her mom. And then Kira shows up. And then 10 years later, Courtney shows up. So there's a lot of dynamics to what made that situation. And we had our challenges. I'm not going to sit here and try to paint the picture like we didn't go through, because we went through. A lot of it was because of my lack of understanding, my lack of good decision making. Because truth of the matter is, I really didn't have a role model in front of me as what it took to be a stepdad. I had to learn that on the job. I had to learn it as I went. But one thing I was determined to do was I was never going to make Brittany feel like she wasn't mine. That was a non-negotiable for me. That means that if I brought Akira a coat, Brittany got a coat. If I brought Akira a bicycle, Brittany got a bicycle. If I brought Akira a pair of sneakers, Brittany got. That was the only way that I could do it. That's the only way it made sense to me, was to do for both of them as if they both are mine. Because at the end of the day, they actually were. Brittany, I mean, to this day, I just saw her Sunday. We have a really amazing relationship. And here's the crazy part. Brittany acts more like me than Akira. When they were children, Akira was my twin. Akira was my twin. She looked like me. She acted like me. But as she got older, even now, she's really starting to look like her mom, which is scary to me, because sometimes when me and Akira FaceTiming and she picks up the phone, I think it's her mother. I'm like, what? And I'm like, yo, Kira, you look just like your mom. But now Brittany is, I mean, she's like all my children. I thank God for them, to be honest with you. But Brittany is a lot closer to being like me, because Akira is very independent in her thinking. Courtney is doing what Courtney does. But Brittany, I'm starting to see a lot of the things that I taught her. Like, I got my own clothing line. Now Brittany has her own clothing line. Brittany is, I mean, all of them. They all have great personalities. I got to be honest with you. And I think they all get that from me. They're all very beautiful young ladies. They get that from both of us. Because I think both of us are good-looking people, me and their mom. But that personality that they have, that's all me. The sense of humor that they have, that's all me. The ability to work a room, that's me. But I look at Brittany and I watch her, and I'm like, man, I gotta be honest, that was one of the greatest opportunities that God ever placed in my life, was to be a part and to play a part in helping to raise an amazing young lady like Brittany. And again, her mom is one of the greatest mothers, one of the most giving people I know. There's nothing that their mom won't do for them, and nothing but great things to say about her. But yeah, that's a risk that you take when you are a stepfather. You have to be willing to give everything that you have, man, and you don't know what you're gonna get in return. But I am so blessed that Brittany and I relationship went from being like this to like this. That's my baby. That's my baby. And I thank God. And I'm very proud of her. Very proud of who she's become. And none of my kids are perfect, but I thank God that I was able to play a part in raising and imparting certain values into my children. And just like us, when you deal with children, you have to understand that each child will go their own journey. Each child will take, certain paths and go down certain things in life. And you have to be patient, because if God was able to turn our lives around and cause us to become great, I think that we have to really give our kids time. But not only that, let's go into another chapter. Um, the reward. The reward is another chapter. There's only 8 chapters in this book, guys. So I really want you to go to Apple Music. You can get it right there. Spotify. I want you to buy the book. Buy it. Make an investment into your parenting. It was because of this book that I became a lecturer from the National Fatherhood Alliance. So we want you guys to know that this book is full of gems, and I am keeping it 1,000 in this book. The reward. The reward again is seeing, because here's what I believe. I believe that when God allows you to become a father, that's one of the highest compliments God can pay a man. Because what God is saying is that I trust you to make a deposit into my greatest creation, which is man. And when you become a dad, you become a protector, you become an instructor, but also a depositor. You have to deposit information, wisdom, and you have to lead from the perspective that your child is supposed to be better than you. Another thing, big shout out to Brittany. I started my clothing line, All Things, right, in 2017. My daughter, Brittany, has her own clothing line called the B Collection. And I get so hyped talking about her and what she's doing because she came out with her hat collection, and I should have actually wore one of her hats on here. My bad, baby. I should have wore, and I got a dope red hat that she did for me. But when she came out with her hat collection, I'm seeing what she's doing. And the next thing you know, I see my daughter clothing line on the runway at New York Fashion Week. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. There wasn't for 1 second that I got jealous of my daughter. Not for 1 second did I say, how in the world did that happen? I had my clothing line before her. I saw my daughter's hats at the New York Fashion Week runway, and I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And I texted, I said, baby girl, I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, Brittany, look at what you're doing. I was ecstatic. It was like it was my hat line. Because again, I raised Brittany to be better than me. I raised my daughters to be bigger than me, to have more than I've had. So it would have been crazy. What's up, Nadine? For me to see my daughter going further with her clothing line than I've gone and be mad. That would be insane. That would be crazy. And so I didn't get mad. I was ecstatic, and I was so proud of my daughter. I said, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I said, Brittany, you doing it. You doing it, you doing it, and you doing it big. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want all of you guys to understand. Here's what we talking about today, guys, on Kingdom Conversation. Are you ready to be a step parent? And one of the chapters that we just talked about was the risk. Are you willing to give everything you got to that child that's not biologically yours, knowing that you might not get anything in return? That's the risk. Well, heck, I'm a biological father, and it's really the same thing, because this culture of children that we are parenting now, they different. They different. But I believe what the word of the Lord says, that if you train up a child in the way that they should go, when they get old, they won't depart from it. So I was at, big shout out to Jeff Les, Deacon Jeffrey Leslie. I was at his funeral Sunday, and I was sitting in the pulpit, and nobody knew I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain, guys, because I had preached twice Sunday, and I think I did too much at the second church. So I was sitting in the pulpit, and I saw Brittany walk in, and Brittany looked at me and gave me a look. You know, me and Brittany, we got a unique way of speaking to each other. But I was so blessed that she came up to me and hugged me and was like, came and spoke to me. Little things like that matter, man, because I know some kids that see their parents and don't even speak to them. Yeah. So, these kids are different nowadays. And my prayer was always this: allow me to be the type of father that never has to fight for the love of my children because of how I love them. And I mean that for all three of my girls. And all three of my girls know. I and I'll be the first one to say, guys, I wasn't the best. Didn't make the best decision all the time. But one thing about it, anybody that knows me know I love my kids. I love my girls. And I always tried my best to be there, to be present, to be a provider for them. My daughters never wanted for anything, and if they did it, and if they didn't get it, it's because they didn't deserve it. But anything that I could give my daughters, all three of them, I don't look at Brittany as a stepdaughter. I look at her as my daughter. So even though she's the reason why I wrote this book, she's one of the reasons why I am the type of dad that I am today. Because I learned some valuable lessons raising these girls. And if, again, young ladies, if you're going to date a young man and you have children, you need this book. Go download the audio book. We don't sell this anymore. This is one of one. I think there's probably only one left. You can get it on Apple Music. It's an audio book now. You can get it anywhere that you sell music. Anywhere that music is sold. Everywhere. Apple Music, Google Music. It's on Amazon. You can get it. Again, guys, it's an audio book. So, and it's great when you're working out or just at the store, or even in the car. Just put the book on and let it play. I'm dropping nuggets, man. I'm dropping nuggets. 34 years of information. And it's crazy because I wrote the book back in 2005. And all these years later, I would have said the same exact thing. So the only thing that has changed for me, I've learned how to do this stuff better. I've learned how to be a disciplinarian without spanking kids and all that. There's so much stuff, man, that goes into being a great dad. And I'm still learning. Even though I've been doing it 34 years now, I'm still learning because I think the greatest student forever, or the greatest teacher forever, remains a student. So if you don't have the book, you need to get it. You need to get it. This is what the cover looks like, guys, now. This is what it looks like now. This is what it's going to look like when you go. Jason Hendrickson, You're Not My Daddy, Guidelines to Becoming a Successful Stepfather. That's what you want to look for on Apple Music. Anywhere that books are sold, anywhere that music is sold. I want you to get it and get it and get it and get it and get it. Listen to it. Tell somebody. If you know somebody that's a stepdad, if you know somebody that's a young lady that's dating and has children and is thinking about getting into a relationship, she needs this book. Let me tell y'all this. This is, if there was a cheat code, this is it. For the ladies and the men. This is the cheat code. I'm giving y'all 34 years of experience in 8 chapters. So a lot of drama you will not have to go through if you get this book. You don't have to try to figure it out. I done did it already. And I'm telling you, these principles that I'm giving you in this book, they just work. It's not spiritual, it's principle. It ain't about if you got money, it's if you can listen to somebody that's been through it and cared enough about you guys to say, let me write this stuff. And let me go back, because again, I put this book out in 2005. And 20 years later, I'm re-releasing it because here's the real deal. If you're dating in 2025, the possibility of you being a step parent is very strong if the person you're dating isn't a virgin. It's almost unavoidable. Everybody got kids now. So if you're blessed to end up with someone that doesn't have kids, you need to lift your hands and tell God thank you. But if you do end up with somebody, which is a strong probability, especially in this culture that has children, even if they're older, younger children, you need this book. This is the cheat code. You ain't got to go into it trying to replace nobody. Just be present. Be present and be consistent. I've learned that children will respond to people that are present and consistent. That's why a lot of our kids get caught up in gangs, because gang leaders are consistent and they're present. But if you're going to be a great step parent, those are the two things you need to be: present and consistent. And if you do that, again, I'm not selling you no Kool-Aid and telling you that it's going to be a walk in the park. No, you may have some challenges. But if you get this audiobook, you got the cheat code. I'm telling you, I've talked about everything that you will experience in 8 chapters. I'm telling you, get the audiobook. Go to Apple Music and get this right here. Press play, put your AirPods on, and rock out and learn the ways to becoming a successful stepfather. Listen, guys, I just wanted to come and share that with you guys. Again, the podcast is coming back. A lot of people have been asking me, what happened to Kingdom Conversations? We're coming back. I just got so much stuff going on, guys, but I have to make time to do this podcast, because this podcast was very informative always, and I brought you nothing but the best guests, and nothing has changed. We're going to bring you some amazing people so that you can get to hear their stories, and I'm putting this out in the atmosphere. The first book was called Guidelines to Becoming a Successful Stepfather. Now I want to write the sequel, Guidelines to Becoming a Successful Stepmother. So if you're a stepmother, I want this to be an anthology. If that's you, I want you to hit me up and say, yo, Pastor, thank you, Nadine. I want to write this book with you. I'm going to write the next book as an anthology. So I'm looking for about 8 mothers, 8 stepmothers of all age demographics to be a part of this. And it's going to be an audiobook. So you're going to have to come into the studio and record. So if you're scared, I'm a great producer. I know how to coach you through it. Don't even worry about it. All you got to do is just write down what your chapter's about, and then get up and talk it into the microphone. And I got it from there. All right? So please, beloved, be on the lookout for that. If you are a stepmother and you want to write this book with Overseer, hit me up. Let me know. I think we on to something. So again, big shout out to my daughter Brittany and her mom Monique, her sisters. In my opinion, we will always be family, regardless of what has happened and what has transpired. That's still my family. I still love them. Life has just taken us in different spaces now, but I do believe that everything that God allowed me. Wow, I didn't know that, Nadine. That's interesting. I do believe that God has allowed me to experience everything that I've experienced to help somebody else. So, to all of you guys, if you're in this area, if you're a stepchild, you should read this book, because I guarantee you'll see yourself. Because a lot of this is my interaction with Brittany over the years and how she felt and the things that she would say, and sometimes the things that she didn't say let me know what she was thinking and what she was feeling. So I did my best to interpret that and put it into this format where you guys can be helped and empowered. But again, if you are a stepmom, and I think we should do a whole series, and the next one should be about stepchildren. So if you're a stepchild, I want to write that book with you. And listen, I can write more than one book at a time. So if you are a stepchild and you want to write this book with me, let's get to it. That's going to be an anthology. The next 2 books about blended family are going to be anthologies. I wrote this one by myself, but because I've never been a stepmom, I got to call in some reinforcements. And because I've never been a stepchild, I have to call in some reinforcements. So I want you to think about it. You don't have to answer me right now, but I'm going to come back here on the podcast and make the request. If you want to write this next book with me, holler at me and let's get to it. Because I'm telling you, it's something that I believe is relevant and necessary for this moment. How to become a successful step parent, how to be a great stepdad is very pivotal. So, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. And remember that no one can stop you from being what you have been called and created to be, but you. If nobody else tells you, you are amazing. You are gifted. You are valuable. And if nobody else is praying for you, I am. I love you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Conversations, and stay tuned for the next episode. Peace and blessings.
Switch it.